All right. Okay.
Is anyone on for live?
Yeah, it's going live. I'm gonna check. It's like loading. It's redirecting to Facebook Live, and we should be live. I'm gonna see what it looks like on my phone to make sure it's actually working. Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah.
All right, we are live officially.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm gonna exit out.
Okay, yeah, and then I'll watch here for comments. Hey, Jordan.
What's up?
Okay, yeah. So I'll keep my phone up for comments.
All right, Lorraine, we're good. We got it working. We're awesome.
Okay.
All right. So this is tonight. Yeah. This is Wednesday, February 26th. That's so cool. Listen, you guys, first of all, I want to say hi. I feel like a 9-year-old at our first sleepover.
So for all of you who are joining
anyway,
episode 30 of the AWAKEN Vlogcast, and our special guest tonight is Lorraine, and that's who is talking right now, and she's going to introduce herself, but you guys are in for a treat. That's all I have to say.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate that, but I guess in order to find out why I got to be who I am, you have to hear a little bit about my story. So, Key the Beach Boys, I was born in Kokomo. So, and from there, that was 1956. So I'm the old broad in the room.
Not. We're actually older. Just because I'm 30, I'm way older than 30. So it's fine.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, we aren't going to count universal years, right? Okay. Anyway, so graduated high school 74. My first alien encounter was 1972. June 2nd, 1972. I had just come home from, I was working at an outdoor theater, Starlight, plays, stages, musicals, you know. I was the makeup artist for those shows. Wow. And well, I wasn't the only one working it, you know, but I was part of the crew. Came home and the Northern Lights were spectacular. They were 4 corners. I mean, the east was orange, the west was green, and the north was purples and yellows. And it was, I laid on the grass, and that's when I had what I thought was my first encounter, but it truly wasn't. It was just one that they made me aware of. Because I think as I got older, I was told down the road on their last visit that they'd been taking me since I was 7. And they showed me all the transitions. They showed me all my different hairstyles, and almost you could allude the emotions through what I was feeling by each time they took me. In the dream where they revealed themselves to me, they came in a night, and my husband at the time, the baby daddy, we were sleeping, and there was next to our window there was this blue light that cast down, and it was the ship, and I immediately was frozen in fear, and I tried to move to wake him up, but they had him under control. The light from the nursery, because I had my 2 children at the time, 2 babies, the light down the hallway from the nursery, I could hear myself screaming, "Don't touch my children, don't touch my children," and immediately was surrounded by these little creatures. They weren't like in Close Encounters, you know how they're tall and lanky. These were shorter. After that, I fell into a dream state where they showed me all the times they'd taken me. They showed me the times they had injected something into my nose, and also had been manipulated through my vagina, because my husband worked nights sometimes, and the one time when this happened to me, I had bruises and things in between my legs from the time that they had been a little rough. And so I would just pray that it all be done But what they told me was that they were breeding clairvoyance into me. And ever since then, my spirit has been turned on. And it's like they broke down my frequency fence, if you will. And I was able to hear and see all in the universe. And that's, I later came on and became a reflexologist. I started studying that in 2005. And to date, I've rubbed over 8,000 pair of feet. And you would think that that would be 16,000 toes, but it's actually 15,999 because one guy was missing a toe.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
But before I get too far, I can't get too far without talking about my prides and joy. This is my youngest son, Danny. Whoops. He's into sports, and this is my other rock star son, Ben. Sorry, I just had a poster video up, a poster picture. They're pretty incredible children. Let's see here. As I was preparing for tonight, I was reminded of the tornado that I survived in grade school. And as that thought came through, Twister came on the television. So I just turned that off before you guys.
Oh my gosh, synchronicity.
Yeah, that's one of my movies for sure.
Oh, it's strong here in this one. In this Yoda, it's strong. Okay, I've driven out west 10 times, either by bus, rail, or car. Flown once, but I learned I'm a Midwest girl. I was in food service for 20 years, mostly bartending and managing restaurants. And in the off times, I've owned 2 cleaning businesses. Although you would never know that to look at my home. I am more into my crafts than I am to my dishes. So I became Reiki certified or a practitioner in 2010 for Reiki, and I earned my master's in 2015. And since then, I've guided 10 people down that Reiki path. And I wish it could be thousands, because what Reiki did for my life and my center and my calm is something you cannot buy in a drug or find in a movie or feel. You might be able to feel that in a relationship if you're lucky, but so far Reiki is my buddy and I rely on it heavily to get me through. Let's see what my notes. I became a karaoke DJ in 2001, and I just retired from that last September. So I used to travel to Nashville and run stages for record producers and while they found talent. But as impressive as that sounds, in Nashville, if you have an extra $10,000 and an office, you can call yourself a record producer. You just have to make sure that they're not pedophiles at the same time. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed the music business. I really did. I don't sing personally. I was having this conversation with my son last night because he's at a crossroads. I said, listen, I started a karaoke business and I never sang anything but in church. And, you can do anything you want and set your mind to, let's see, introduced to CBD. And, Morgan, with the reflexology, as soon as I was introduced to the CBD, it lit a fire inside me that has not been put out and won't be put out. Yeah. That's become a huge part of my life. Now, this is something, tonight I really wanted to celebrate the friendship that we've created. And one thing that I watch is YouTube post every day. It really makes me hyper aware of my surroundings, and it's helping me to illuminate my inside, because after losing custody of my 2 precious children when they were only 5 and 3, I had a nervous breakdown that has not still left every cell in my body. The Reiki's helped to purge a lot of that, but I think I realized in preparing for this tonight, the epiphany I had was that, okay, so when I grew up, I grew up on 97 acres of land. It was a farm that we rented for $90 a month because the guy was going to be subdividing it. And he had 10 years that, okay, I'll run it to this nice family, right? So I had 3 older brothers, but I might as well have been an only child because, 3 nasty older brothers. I didn't want to spend time with them and they didn't want to spend time with me. So, and then to lose my children in a custody thing, they're the baby daddy, that's all I can call him. He's a politician. And so I'm not keen on politics anyway. So to have that kind of overhead, he had gotten a judge elected. And after 4 years in court, we finally figured that out. So, but I've done a lot of healing since then. I was given a job right away for Meals on Wheels. So I couldn't nurture my children, but I was able to nurture the seniors and that kind of thing, which was extraordinary for me because I always had this thing about, I was afraid of seniors and maybe was afraid of getting old, but it was like, when I watched the movie Helen Keller, it freaked me out a little bit. Her disabilities and that her adversities were really off-putting to me, and it made me frightened. But it wasn't until I started working with those seniors that I really understood what caring and nurturing and really helping a person could mean. And because I couldn't do that for my children on the daily, I was able to do it for these people that were sent into my life. And I think that's where my journey for becoming a reflexologist and caring for people, I liken reflexology to almost being Mary Magdalene and being able to serve Jesus at his feet. Because like you said, aren't we all God inside of ourselves? And Jesus is God's son. So it's like washing, caring for that person through their feet. It's the most not intimate, but it's the most private, extreme way that you can communicate with the person. So, but that's me in a nutshell. He was 13 pounds at birth. Wow. He was 10 pounds at birth.
That's you. Intense, yeah. I'm just saying. Mine were only 8, and that was a lot. So
that's crazy. So we're gonna look on here and see comments real quick. Does anybody that's watching have any comments so far? What Lorraine shared, anything that you want to ask her? Oh, yeah, we've got a couple.
Yeah. And yeah, there've been some technical difficulties, like the connection is kind of weird. It's just we're doing this Zoom through Facebook to do a duo live, so it's our first time doing this. So
bear with us, guys.
Thank
we're
you
working
for your
through
patience.
it.
Okay. But yes, so Jennifer wants to know what your favorite karaoke song is.
My favorite karaoke song? Yeah. The one that I sing, the one I like to hear sung, the one that I would sing, fall back for. Okay, in December, I have to sing Madonna's or Eartha Kitt's Santa Baby, and I have to do it in Eartha's voice. So and then the first song I ever sang karaoke was Mama's and Papa's Dream a Little Dream of Me. Now, a lot of my voice being deeper and raspier because I did smoke cigarettes at the time. A lot of Rod Stewart, John Lennon, You're in My Heart by Rod Stewart. I love that song. But mostly I was witness to some extraordinary talent in my time and some real bullshit voices in my time too. But the good with the bad, I was an American Idol, but I was always asked back and we always had a good time. So
that's what's important. It's just having a good time.
I've sang karaoke.
Well, and the thing for me,
attempted.
It's fun. It's just a good time. It's a gas. So, but the thing for me that I didn't expect was after 18 years of being social, because I did the Nashville thing. I was our local university's DJ and karaoke person for 7 years, and I did a local bar for the last 18 years every Friday. And that had been such a huge part of my life. I've DJ'd over 50 weddings, all that activity. And, I am a Leo, but I don't own it in that egotistical way. It's just when I was born. But I didn't expect this depression that I entered being away from those people, even though because of the Reiki, it was those people I needed to get away from because of the alcohol and the lifestyle. And I was I was vibrating higher than them, and I couldn't relate, and I wasn't enjoying myself. And when I don't enjoy myself and I feel uncomfortable, I'm out of there. So after 18 years, I was with my music longer than I was with any man. So, I had that. Music was my mistress, as says.
That's great.
So,
Do you have any questions yet?
Let's see. Jennifer says you have a Janis Joplin voice.
I never did really sing much of her. I was wanted to try Tracy Chapman.
Oh, yeah.
Sing Tracy Chapman. Fast Car. That'd be good. See, that was the problem. Now I have to go back and relearn music that I like. Because when you're a DJ, you play for everyone else. I learned appreciation for rap and hip hop because of having to play it out. It's like I would have never listened to that music, had it not been for people, around me requesting it.
Yeah.
So
I love music. I listen to all kinds of music, and I've always
I know you do.
all different genres.
And it was frustrating when you used to post them on your stories because they'd start and then they'd stop. And it's like, wait a minute. Remember when you would post 14 songs? It's like,
Yep. I share all of them depending on what mood I'm in and what I'm posting for the day. And a lot of people have asked me, because they used to ask me what I listened to, so I started sharing them on my stories so that they could just click on it and go listen to it in Spotify or whatever they have. And I've even created playlists because of that. But I love music. It definitely the whole vibration and energy of itself, for sure.
We were talking about that last week, where you feel. Do you get where if you feel a good song, you'll just get goosebumps all over your body,
or like
I'll weep at a song. I will cry.
For sure.
Yeah, it's music is the notes and it's the numbers and it's how we vibrate on those frequencies, so of course it's going to affect us, so that's why bad singers can make you, my good friend would love to come out and see me, but she couldn't stand it. She'd say, I'd rather be slitting my wrist to have to listen to some of the people that you get up there. And it's like, I get it, but I'm getting paid here, so I'll check you next Thursday, something. I couldn't help it. And those people that had the balls and the bravery to stand up in front of that whole crowd, because we were always busy. It was always an epic karaoke night. It was so much fun. If they sucked, it didn't matter because people would embrace them. And that helped to strengthen their self-confidence and to edify them and say, good job, you got up there and did it. You sucked, but you did good. You got up there and sang, or, these people that make you weep because God gave them a talent that you'd never be able to replicate, and I had more of that than the bad. So, and that's probably why I stuck with it for so long, because in my typical MO, if I'm not happy, I ain't staying. So.
Well, and music probably helped you heal too with whatever you were going through at the time. I'm sure a lot of that came out with the music that you were playing.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you got into Reiki specifically, what was your reason for getting into Reiki? How did you get into it for people who might be curious?
My first reflexology class, I was introduced to probably 15 to 20 other women that were studying the reflexology, and it amazed me how many more modalities they had on their calling card. It was like, oh my God, I'm struggling to just understand and remember these 7,200 nerve endings. And you guys are doing this, 14 other modalities. My little brain couldn't handle it, But with the Reiki, I was doing a lot of reflexology out, and I met my master at a show or an open house where we were in this metaphysical store, and I was rubbing feet 15 minutes and say hi, And so I met Greta, and then I got to teach at my grade school. I taught a reflexology class. In order to become a teacher, you have to be certified, number one, but you have to be nationally certified. You have to have 30 hours of teaching. So it's like being first on a job. How do you get experience if you've never had a job? So what I had to do was I teach reflexology. So I developed an 8-part class that talked about different conditions why you would go and get reflexology for. And then we would discuss and discover what caused each condition and where you might work on those areas of the feet. And it happened to be in the classroom where I spent my first through 8th grade, because when I went to grade school, there was only 8 other people in my grade. So we didn't even have enough for a baseball team. There was a row for each grade. And, it was a small school, and that's all I knew. And then when I graduated 8th grade with those 8 other people, we went into a college where I'm in a high school where my freshman class was 400. So being balls out like that, I ran for student council. They didn't know who I was, but here I am. Let's have some fun. I didn't care that there was 400 or there was 8. To me, I used to sell Amway. Let me rephrase that. I used to listen to a lot of tapes in Amway and attempt to sell Amway. But I went to the convention in Atlanta, Georgia, and people don't scare me at all. Everybody sits down to poop. And, it's just a fact of life. They're just other humans in meat suits to me, and
you meat suit people. I know it is, but it's
Is that as bad as the word moist?
Yeah.
Like,
she hates when I say meat suit though, and it's just really
it makes me think of food and like cannibals, and it's just weird.
Oh, there are some cannibals.
I know there are, and that's why it's even weird.
Yeah. That's disgusting to think of. But yeah, it's true.
Like, let's just say it's our human. Just our human
vessel, fine.
Sheet. It's our human ghost.
Okay, so that was my question. Okay, so I watch you guys posting, and you're constantly letting go of this and shedding this, and all these layers are coming off. But aren't we here? I argue with myself with this all the time, because I understand how valuable it is to shed those layers. But aren't we here to learn valuable lessons? And don't we need this valor, this armor for some reason? I mean, what layers are we dumping? Is it just the old lessons that are in the tests that we already passed? Are we shedding those? Or I guess I'm wondering, do we have permission to be light beings on Earth? To live as light beings on Earth? I don't see that happening without fulfilling my human side of it, right? Am I wrong on that? I'm just trying to go ahead, Ashton.
I was gonna say, my perspective is you can shed the layers of those things, the heaviness, the denseness of it, and still keep the lesson or the energy from which that you experience, because consciousness itself is awareness of self, and once you have awareness, you never have unawareness of that thing again. So although we're shedding the denseness, all we're really doing is shedding the lower vibration to keep raising our vibration higher. Because to me, I mean, Earth, even in itself, there's so many things we can't see just with the naked eye, the vibrations, the different dimensions, things like that. So as we raise our vibration, we just keep getting up higher and higher in those frequencies.
Yeah, I think so. These are great questions, and these are discussions I love because they get so deep. Because it's like,
I love the deep stuff.
Why are why are we in this human form? Like, what is the purpose? And so of course, this is just my opinion, just from the random things I've read and meditated on and talked with people about. But I think just what's happened is everything has just gotten off balance. Like everything is out of balance. And like when historically, you know, we have that 25,000 year cycle and all this thing. So, but things have just gotten so out of balance and we've been trying to overcorrect. So you go really far this way and really far that way.
Just about getting back in the middle.
And then keeping people divided. People are just so far divided. And then you need to add in karma. I've been reading a lot about karma and what it actually is, or what I believe it to be. And I've been listening to David Wilcock's synchronicity book, and he has a really amazing explanation and of quite a few chapters on what heaven and hell are. And so as humans here trapped on earth, we're trapped in this dense third dimension, and karma is really heaven and hell. So in the Bible, when it's talked about how we've been just like, you go to hell, you know, heaven and hell are right here on earth. It's what we decide to make of it. And depending on what we've done in our past lives or what we're currently doing, we are experiencing karma now instantly, or we're experiencing karma back from lifetimes ago, where maybe we were a really bad person in another lifetime and we did really dark, horrible things. And so we've had to come back in other lifetimes to kind of burn off or rebalance that karma. And so all of this, there's just so many layers to it. And I really do think there is something special about this year specifically, 2020. I mean, there is so much going on in the world. There's so much being uncovered. There's so many people discovering these things about themselves and being open and honest and just wanting to communicate and find other people willing to discuss these other possibilities instead of just saying, well, this is the truth just because this says so, or because my pastor says so, or my mom or my school or whatever. So it's this shedding of all of these layers of life that we've experienced now and in past lives. And so we're really trying, I believe, to get back to who we are at the source. And of course, we need our ego human form to survive on this third dimensional earth. But as we uncover these layers, these dense layers, we lighten our souls and our bodies, and therefore lighten the earth's layers in a way. And we're kind of bringing it into the next dimension. And I know that's kind of weird and crazy, but I feel like we always, just on my personal journey, that's what I'm discovering. And it's very uncomfortable because you start talking about these things. Like I did a post about, I was just like, do you think the moon landing is real, with like a funny meme about it. And it was really cool to see just all the discussions we had. We didn't all agree on everything, but we were respectful and shared different sources. And that's what this is all about. It's just talking with your fellow human beings about things that you're not supposed to talk about. Just connect. Right. Connection is so important with your own self and with your friends and family and other people, because when we can be open and honest, it's almost like people take that as permission for them to do that as well. It's like people need permission to step outside the box, to step outside the matrix.
Because it's too scary to be that person by yourself.
Oh yeah. Because in the past, think about it. I mean, we could like the Salem witch trials come to mind.
We would have definitely been burned.
Right. It's just, we had.
Maybe we were, who knows really.
It could be. But in that time, like you couldn't really be yourself. You had to put yourself in a box to survive, or you'd be burnt at the stake. And then, you know, we could go back 2,000 years or 5,000 years or 100 years ago. There were just these protections that we had to put on, almost like an armor, to survive. And now we're figuring out we can survive with the light inside if we all come together and allow us all to process these things in a non-judgmental way.
I think that's more living than surviving.
Yeah, it's
like that's
what
we're at now.
Exactly. Yeah,
We were in survival mode.
Yeah, now we're in
actually
living mode.
embracing and living.
Yeah.
Well, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So and
I
there's
can't wait till we get to living mode.
So there's
Yeah.
a book too that I was going to share.
Yeah.
So Morgan and I both read this book. It's a super thick book. It's like 500 or 600 pages, but it's one of those books you won't put down, and it's really good. I don't know if it's backwards to you or if you can see it.
It's the Dolores Cannon.
It's Dolores Cannon, and it's called The Three
Oh,
Waves.
I love Dolores.
Yeah. So The Three Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth, and it's talking about the waves.
Oh, I got it right.
Yeah, so it's talking about the waves of volunteers of consciousness at different different decades when certain waves have come in to do their job as light workers to help awaken. That's how we are where we are now in 2020, and that's what I feel I am. I know Morgan feels this way, that she's a light worker, that you're a light worker. We're here now because we're holding that specific vibration to keep awakening people. Right. That's why we started Awaken Vlogcast, was literally to be able to talk to people and awaken them. And get the conversation going.
And I feel like we also hold the light in a way because since we've already started our awakening journey, these new, we could call them babies, these babies awakening, and the awakening babies. Yeah. It gets intense and really scary. And so by us continuing to be who we are and talk about the things we're holding the light for them to say, look, okay, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna survive together. Let's hold hands. Let's join together.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. Exactly.
Always.
I think that's the most important part is you aren't alone.
Yeah. Because we are all one. We are all the same thing. Yeah. It's just remembering that. So we're at a time of remembering right now.
Yeah.
So I hope that
my email is we'reallinthistogether.com. So I know that.
Do you have any comments?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So we have some comments. Right, if we can go back. Amanda, she's still watching. So Amanda says, "I'm interested in the alien experiences. What do you think is your biggest takeaway from those experiences?"
Shame on the people in charge of us for keeping them dark and not allowing us to communicate and move forward with our evolution and our training, that we have to fight so hard to be accepted. I take those alien abductions almost as a badge of honor. I think I can honestly say it was probably 7 times. And that wasn't all dream state, because just about a decade ago, I was partying with my brothers at a friend's driveway. We were having a little cookout. And we were all in this conversation about aliens. And I never spoke to my brothers about aliens. And they both that night had admitted themselves, they too had that revelation that yes, in fact, they too had been abducted. Because if you look at the property where I grew up at, you know, it was easy. We were easy pickings, really, you know. And I suppose when they got a hold of me, they saw that they, you know, might have something that they could work with and use as their tool, or at least their messenger, you know, to help people not be afraid of them. And I'm curious to know who did the research and able to expose that there's 16 species of aliens. I mean, who came up with that? I'm not that connected, you know. I have not been hypnotized, but maybe I am. But I don't know. It just seems I had so many experiences. I had a Men in Black situation where one of these, I used to own a bar when I had my babies. We lived above the bar. And one of the girls that came in, she too was having UFO experiences. And she had one land in the empty lot next to her house, left a burn mark. So she dialed 1-800, oh my God, a UFO. And within an hour, there were 5 big black trucks, and these men got out and were surveyed the area. They took samples and, you know, they were there for about an hour. And her right out because she heard the machine. She saw the burn marks herself. You know, she obviously called them and they showed up. Who would have thought that that was going to work, you know? And then when we had conversations on the phone, you could hear the clicking and the breathing and like someone was listening. And so ultimately we stopped our friendship, our you know, hanging out with each other because neither one of us liked where it was going. Because shortly after that time when we were on the phone and you know we thought we were being watched is when the night when I astrally projected above myself, and that was the morning I woke up with the bruises in between my legs and this thing up my nose. So I don't know whatever happened to that. All I remember is the vision of them doing it, that I'm overhead and, you know, the pain that I had felt. So maybe it's still there. Who knows? I've since had to go and have MRIs done because I get these like brain explosions in my head. They're just like electrical charges. And I, you know, it's concerning. So I took it to the doctor, and all they said was, well, for some reason, you have this extra vein in your head. So maybe that's alien portal. I'm also Rh negative. So I'm attuned that way. So, you know, it's all theory from this point in my 3D being, but the way I travel at night in my dreams and the intuitive ability that I have, and I don't know, I just it's all seems to add up that not that I'm the chosen one, but I get to be one of the people that's aware, that one of the people that's woke as fuck, and you know it's I figure that that's a badge of honor, you know, to be one of the early ones that is woken up and that can help guide people to, man, don't take it, you know, don't take for granted what they're teaching you in school is the truth and everything. Because Hidden Figures was a perfect example of that. I never heard about black women knowing math, and especially enough math to send my boys up in space. You know, that blew my mind. And I wasn't taught that in school because I'm a huge science nerd. Neil deGrasse Tyson can put his shoes under my bed any night, you know. He doesn't have to do anything with me. He just has to talk.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah. Let's look. Let's see. Let's see. So yeah, Jennifer says heaven and hell is a state of mind / consciousness.
That's my belief also.
Yeah. And having discussions, not nasty debates, even if you disagree. Let's see.
She loves you.
Yeah, she loves you. She said, and Jennifer, RH negative is fascinating. And then Amanda says, thank you so much for sharing about your alien experience.
It makes me nervous to live where I'm at because I live out in the country and I have a huge panoramic. It's a perfect portal. That sign that I shared with you before we started about the interdimensional portions. It's like I was trying to come up with that's the actual coronavirus, talking about the corona of the sun, because you know you leave the portal open and we're going to get contaminated. So you don't want that coronavirus leaking in that interdimensional portal. Anyway, did you see that sign, Morgan?
Do what?
In the message that she sent. Asked if you saw the sign that she sent in the message.
The sign she sent in the message.
The group message.
The group message?
I'll
No, I don't. Yeah.
I'll show her real quick.
Yeah. Let me let Ashton see. Let's see. Hang on. Oh yeah, let me read it. I think I was like driving and trying to get my kids fed and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Oh my god, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
So since you know about Dolores Cannon, have you read this book?
I've not read that book.
I think
I'm a university graduate, and so I listen to a lot of her YouTube stuff.
So you know all about the quantum hypnosis technique and all of that.
NLP, I'm studying with Steve Jones right now. Yeah. And Graham Nichols from Udemy. So
That's
EFT.
Yeah.
Tapping.
That's I do the faster EFT. It's a little bit different than the typical EFT, different spots and stuff. It's not as
Really?
but yeah, I do that. I do NLP, I do Reiki, I do lots of different things. Again, like you said, lots of tools because it's not it solves everybody. So different things for different people. But I think you would really like this book because I think it would just connect dots for you that you already have.
Yeah. Other
Right.
people.
But if you guys haven't heard of this book, again, it's called 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth by Dolores Cannon. This is what the cover looks like. I don't know if it's backwards or not to you guys, but it's a really good book.
No, it's so do you guys know about the Lemurian Society? Do you know anything of the Lemurian Society? It was the original Atlantis location in that.
I know
The
a little bit
crystals,
of it. I haven't done a lot of reading on it, but I do know enough to believe it. Yes.
Yeah. I believe it's around, was it Hawaii, a lot of that, or is that Atlantis?
Yes, yes. I could share the Facebook group with you guys, the Guardians of Lemuria, but my oldest brother was a member of the Lemurian Society, and I have all his books and handouts, or not handouts, but the workbooks and stuff on how to be the best person you can be and how to live in the Lemurian philosophy and stuff. And it's just so fascinating. You know, we've been attempting to work it out since we started on this planet. And I wish that we were given instructions. It was like being set out on the Amazing Race with no direction to go with, you know?
Like, there you go.
But I think that's part of like what you talked about earlier when you talked about when we're shedding certain experiences and things like that. I think we're meant to experience those things because as consciousness and as the universe experiencing itself, it has to experience things in all different facets to be able to have complete perspective of all understandings to really have the knowledge, the universal knowledge that is.
Where did I hear the other day that in this lifetime, because like you say, we are all one organism, we eventually, at one point in my soul's journey, I am Ashton, I am Morgan.
We are you.
You are me. Yes. And I think for those people that are awakened or enlightened, that just makes our journey that much easier. I feel sorry for those people that don't acknowledge the spiritual side of things. It hurts my heart for them because they're going to have a hard time of it when they're going to need to fly. You know, they aren't going to be able to get off the ground.
I think about that too, but then I also remember that everyone is on their own journey for a reason, and that because they are extensions of me, that's just me going through a different stage of it, and I had to go through that to get where I'm at. Because really, time is irrelevant anyway.
That's things that gets me through. Because you think about all the just horrible experiences some people go through, and it just hurts your heart. Like even kids and bad family situations, and it just like, especially as a mom, it like breaks my heart because I want to take all the kids and bring them to my land and just let them run free and love them, but I can't. And so I always have to go back to the soul. The soul knows what it needs, even if our memories are wiped from this human brain that we are in now. And for whatever reason, whether a bunch of past lives or the most recent past life, like they chose to have those parents, or they chose to have that life in this specific time period to go through whatever it is they need to do to kind of clear out their karma or to experience whatever's next on their journey. Because it gets heavy, man, and it's sad, and you're like, why is there so much awfulness on earth right now?
Here's the thing.
I think a lot of that too, when things like that happen, even the negative, quote unquote, I don't even believe it's negative. It just is. When people have certain experiences, I think it helps them remember also who they are. In those moments when something bad happens, you get to choose if you want to continue this cycle or if you want to break the karmic cycle and remember who you truly are and embrace that and start creating from there.
Yeah.
I experienced that when I went out to Sturgis 5 years ago. I was told that I was going to make all this money out there on this ranch, and it would be worth leaving my jobs, for 2 weeks, and I get a little bit of a vacation too. And it didn't turn out like that at all. I was grateful that I brought my chair and my banner that I got to tape on the fence that said "Hot Blonde offers hand jobs" because of the reflexology. Yeah, a great following from that. But I didn't work on as many people, and I didn't get the restaurant job that I was supposed to get. And so I really questioned why I was there. But the people that I did get to work on, it really made a difference in their lives. And so I didn't suffer at all when I came back. So that told me that I was there for those purposes and not mine.
Yeah, you could have been there to hold the space, to hold your vibration. My belief is anywhere we travel, anywhere we're geographically, we're holding that vibration energy there for a reason. There's a reason we're in that space. Even if it's what we think is the reason at the time. It's not always about just being able, like you said, to impact those people you were working with. And that could have just been your mission at the time. And that you don't know what your interaction with them has awakened in them. And now they're out experiencing life a whole different way just by interacting with you.
Right. So.
Let's see. Jennifer says, I love Dolores on YouTube. She's amazeballs.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who Dolores Cannon is, you need to look her up.
Yeah.
She's got
You would never expect that grandma to be so enlightened.
Right? I was so disappointed when I first learned about her. I was like, because here's why I was disappointed. I was excited because I was like, yes, she knows what she's talking about. Like, I get this. And then I go to research because I was like, I need to have a session with her. Found out she died like the year before. And I was like, no!
Oh, no!
But I had a session with somebody that trained under her. So that was cool. So it's like the next closest.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so Jennifer asks, Lorraine, have you watched the Spirit Science series on YouTube? They talk in depth.
Oh, yeah.
I watched that with my kids.
Spirit Science is my favorite.
And
that's when I first started.
It's
yeah.
appealing
yeah,
and like
fun.
They have fun music and they make funny jokes like with pop culture references. Just, so yeah,
I like
amazing.
it because it's talking about very deep things. It's like when we talk about things, how we have it was a sense of humor. It's kind of lighthearted how we talk about it.
Yeah.
So in Spirit Science, it's talking about very deep things, very real things, but in like a playful.
I love the chocolate one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like a childlike way, like because it's a cartoon, right? So I feel like it plays with our inner child. It like gives us the information in a way that we're able to receive it better.
Yeah.
And comprehend it.
Oh, I love it.
That was really brilliant on their part.
Do you have any other questions?
Nope. We're caught up on the questions, so that's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to ask specifically? I know I've asked about the Reiki. We've covered, alien encounters.
I know. I'm so fascinated with the alien stuff.
I guess I'm just wondering if the next time I get abducted, if there will be a next time, if they'll allow me to be conscious of it. Yeah. I would, if they come back and take me, at least let me be conscious of it, because what a kick-ass ride that would be, wouldn't it? I always think I mean, I have tinnitus already. I might as well fly through space and experience that for real instead of just in my ears.
You ever try to contact them in meditation? Is that a thing? You could be like, hey, it's been a while. I'd like a conscious experience.
It wasn't
is that a thing?
It wasn't always friendly. So I'd be afraid of what I would encounter.
Were the same species each time, or were there different? Was it a different species not nice, and then there were others that were nice, or were they the same across the board that you recall?
They were different in the way they looked. There were taller ones, and the situation the night that it came down when I was in bed with my husband, they were shorter. They surrounded the bed. And I would say that they were only 3 feet tall. And hard to say if they could have shapeshifted into something else, and trying not to be formidable. Don't be afraid. We're here because, we're friendly. I don't know. They didn't breed that one into me. They didn't breed that answer into me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense though. You wouldn't want to call something to you that you weren't sure was gonna be nice.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question.
I mean,
when maybe did you first start talking about these encounters? And so when did you first starting talking about it? And two, why? Like, what made you feel safe enough to actually start sharing your story? Because I'm sure when it first started, people were like, "You're crazy."
well, see, that was before the internet too. So I only had the immediate people around me, and I owned a bar at the time. So I could have come up with any fanciful story, and they would have been mesmerized because half of them were on tabs.
Oh.
So you're gonna in the bar, you're gonna listen to what I'm gonna tell you. I'd never put them on that like that, and I wouldn't reveal myself to those people because they're again, even then, I had a higher vibration. It was hard for me to see people. We were getting to the point where we were, what do you call that? Not we would use people's celebrations and all their life events to make money in the bar. We would, what is the word I'm looking for? It starts with an E. Anyway, I found myself counseling with my pastor on a regular basis because I just couldn't deal with that humanity. I came from a Gumby family. I mean, I grew up on 97 acres. My daddy mowed the lawn. My mom was in the kitchen. I didn't know strife and all this. I'm still very naive, and I'm 63 years old. I have trust and faith in humankind, and I love everybody. Collectively, I don't like people, but one at a time. And it's because I don't know, this whole shadow thing that's over us with Q and cabal, and then my first introduction to the tribunal was it? It's messing with my head. 1974, I learned about the tribunal. Is it tribunal council? No. Jeez, what is that name?
Don't think about it; it'll come to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that. But
You're talking about when you first learned about the dark, the shadow, things like that.
the tribunal, not the tribunals, the Trilateral Commission, the first introduction to the New World Order and the Georgia Guidestones.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about
1974.
on that.
Oh, we should. That's
You
creepy,
guys don't know
though.
it. I know, but
Because I'm like, that's not.
But it's like being prepared for a storm. To be prepared for it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You just prepare for it. It's like being a scout. You really have to look at the objectives. It's like when they did, if you listen to the prophecies of Nostradamus, and you see, he called out 9/11. He showed it. It's right in his movie. The great two walls or the two towers in New York will fall, and it's like, good grief, are we doomed? Do we have to be doomed? Why can't we change this? So then the brilliant network people put on Back to the Future right there, right after that movie of Nostradamus, and it made sense that we do have control and we can change this. But it's every move, it's everything, every encounter that we have that can alter. I mean, if I hadn't done this back in 1980, I wouldn't be sitting here today. If I had done this in 1992, I wouldn't be here today. And I'm so grateful. And that's my notes for today. It was like, I had the epiphany, and I told my son about this last night. I said, well, they're going to think I'm a little weird, but I remember the day I was born. And not many people can say that. And
very rare.
It came to me in
percentage of people that can remember everything.
It came to me in a dream when I was like 9, and I had napped, and I came down, and I was so freaked out by it that I had to ask my mom. I'm like, I explained the scene in my head. I was carried in the room by this nurse. I described her face. I saw my mother, and my father had brought flowers. I described the chicken wire in the windows in the hospital. And she's like, that's crazy, because that's exactly how it was. I mean, everyone celebrates their children. Everyone celebrates little girls. But I was the first girl out of 9 before 9 boys went before me. And so I was the first girl. And so I was being celebrated. But for me, having awareness that day just tells me that my portals were not shut all the way when I came in from the other dimensions, basically. And maybe, you know, I've been awake this whole time, I think.
Well, I think the other thing with awakening, I think it happens in layers too. I think, I don't think there's just one incidence where we wake up and then like we know everything. Because in my personal experience with awakening, it's been in layers. As different things happen, another layer, I go deeper, I awaken a little bit more, I get a little bit more knowledge or downloads or whatever you want to call them, like just more knowing. And also I've noticed that, like, the gifts that I use and have get stronger the more that happens.
It's like a muscle almost. You just keep using it and it gets stronger.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, you understand with Reiki how it is. I'm also a Reiki master. You know Reiki.
I do know it. Not
We're
a
all
master,
Reiki.
but yeah.
But I'm just saying, you are a practitioner.
Yeah.
But the way, even with Reiki, it is a muscle. It is a spiritual, mental, energetic muscle. And like for me, as long as I've been doing it, and I know you've probably been doing it longer than me, which I know you have because you said when you started, but even in this time that I've been using Reiki, how strong it is now compared to when I started, it's just mind blowing. And to know that it can I can send Reiki like that, it's pretty intense. Like I'll be out in public somewhere and I can feel it. Like I can feel when I start sending Reiki. I'll just get really warm and my hands always get super warm because any other time they're like freezing. But if I'm around someone and they need Reiki, it just starts flowing.
That's awesome. You know Charlie Goldsmith?
Who you cut out?
Charlie. Do you know Charlie Goldsmith?
No, I do not.
Reiki healer from Australia. He's amazing. He's a Reiki healer from Australia.
Is he the one?
Yeah, the TLC.
Yep. Okay. I know who that is though.
He's amazing.
So I'm like, wait.
I don't know the name, but I know the guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Friday when that came on TV, finally something a little bit mainstream talking about it, and then more things that have come out, like the documentary on Netflix that when it came out, I had seen it before on before it was on Netflix, but when the documentary Heal, it's on Netflix. I don't know if it's still in there now.
Oh yes.
When that came out, I was like, oh my God, please everybody watch this. This is what I've been talking about for a while, and now it's mainstream. Now there's no reason you shouldn't be able to watch it. Yeah. So if you guys haven't seen it, if it's still
we have 3 hospitals in my area, and all 3 of them use Reiki over massage or reflexology.
Awesome.
Which is so cool. Yeah. Because when I went to training, like I went to Asheville, North Carolina to be trained to be a Reiki practitioner. But on the coast, even in California, on the other coast, like it's everywhere there. They use in the hospitals like it's regular medicine. Like people can actually have Reiki given to them and done to them while they're in the middle of surgery, like or after surgery.
That needs to be standard procedure.
I think it will be eventually. And honestly, that's one of the things I want to get started here in Oklahoma. Like I want to group together with other Reiki practitioners, and I've been teaching practitioners for the specific reason that if people want to get on board with that and create that, like we can go into hospitals. I work with hospice patients also, like being able to go to these places, because it's not only about recovery and health. People don't even think about the whole death side of things. Like it doesn't have to be this doom and gloom type thing. What I've noticed working with hospice patients, it's actually very healing, and it gives them peace, and they're able to let go of these things that most people will like die with on their deathbed.
Yeah, we need death doulas. I know Jennifer's watching.
Lucky,
she's super
Lucky's one of the
and you've done that.
I've been a death doula twice. I've officiated for 2 funerals for 2 of my closest friends here in the area in the last 2 months, and I've sat with both of their husbands in their deathbeds, and been there for them. I've done a lot of that with the reflexology because it helps them to relax and then I can transfer. I'll turn my Reiki on while I'm doing my reflexology, especially in those scenarios. So it's a very powerful thing, and I wish we could lead everybody to Reiki. Everyone needs Reiki as bad as they need cannabis.
Well, and we are. I mean, that's like what I use my platform specifically for. I'm talking all the time about Reiki, or I do my Reiki lives for people just to get a taste of it, like what it's about, because sometimes it's just people needing to know the education piece of it. Because like you said, if you don't, unless you learned it training to be a reflexologist, I know in massage, they talk about it for like a day. Like there's a book, there's a page in the book, they talk about it and they move on. Like, I think the more we just educate people on these things and talk about it and make it more mainstream, it will become the new normal. And that's why, like, even when I do the Reiki lives, like people are still getting the Reiki they need, even if it's like 10 or 15-minute boosts. It's still helping them clear and purge and heal.
I think it helped me immensely with my energy levels, because I'm the type of person that can cancel a watch or not an ultrasound machine, but the TENS unit, I can cancel those out. And so the Reiki's helped me to be able to continue that current, send it on and not cancel it. So I'm forever changed because of Reiki, and forever grateful to have it in my life. And I just need to feel more comfortable talking about it, because I live in a community of farmers. It took me 10 years to get them to convince them that I could help their health by rubbing their feet, so to bring in Reiki, and now I'm not going to even touch you and I'm going to heal you, is a little far-fetched for these farmers.
I mean, it was like that here in Oklahoma when I started, 5-6 years ago.
Sure.
Like, not a lot of people here, so the way I found a way to bridge the gap of the two worlds is I explain it as in, okay, when you go to church and someone's sick or they're hurt, they go up to the front of the church and the pastor or the people or preacher lays hands, right, to do healing. And I always ask that person or those people, are they doing the healing? And they're like, no, they're being a channel for God. I said, that's exactly what Reiki is. I'm not the healer. I'm a vessel.
Analogy.
So you might
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
I will.
And see if
yeah. Let's see. So, okay. Okay, so we're going back a little bit. So Jennifer asks, Lorraine, what's the best ET encounter you've had? Like a positive one.
A positive.
Yeah. Were there any? The best one, I guess, out of all of them.
There wasn't one that I wasn't terrified. Yeah. The best one was probably the night they showed me all the times they had taken me and the different stages where I was at in my life. That was fascinating to me, that they'd kept a record and were able to show it to me, like that. I've often thought, what was I doing in my life at that time that might have prompted a visit? But I don't think that there's anything in my agenda that mattered to them. I was just this 3D form that they were interested in, So.
Let's see. And then Jennifer asks, do you remember any past lives?
Past feelings and emotions, but not necessarily glimpses of a life.
I can relate to that. And I've had past life regressions, and I have a harder time visually seeing myself. It's just more feeling and knowing certain things.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I've lived more in the future than I've lived in the past. Because I don't have a tie to Cleopatra, and I don't have a tie to being a prairie woman, or, I don't long to, feel the the Dust Bowl, to be out in the Dust Bowl and to be struggling to survive in Kansas City during Dust Bowl. But I think most of my lives, I've I'm back here serving for something, and most of my soul has traveled in the future. That's the way it feels.
Yeah.
Because remember, there is no time and space as far as that goes.
Not.
Gravity and love are what.
Yeah. That's a trippy concept to think of too. You're
I think
like
it's awesome.
everything's that's happened in the past, happening now, or is going to happen in the future is all happening at the same time.
Well, and that's why I love it, because what I do with rewiring the mind and working with people with trauma is like, it's super powerful, because people think, well, it happened in the past, it's gone, we can't change it. And it's like, no, actually we can.
Yeah.
Because
There's
it resides in your
dimensions.
consciousness. Like that's what
Yeah.
we're changing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we're changing the vibration, the memory, like
The Reiki and attempting to access the electrical part of the body, we are capable of flushing all the bad and even some of the good, or even generating some of the good. So to have people understand how powerful they are is one of my biggest challenges. Have them believe in themselves, that they are capable of experiencing and accepting the Reiki. Once they do, baby, I got them.
I could
Yeah.
relate to that with certain people.
Yeah.
People just have to have their own experience sometimes.
It's hard to break through that programming too. These
Yeah.
energetic things that
Oh,
you
for sure.
touch and like, well, that's not real. No one ever taught me that. Like,
Yeah. No one
it's
taught-
hard. It's hard for them to break through that. Like, oh, we are actually mostly energy.
Yeah.
We're such a very small part, but we focus nearly 100% of our focus on the physical aspect and like totally neglect the majority of what we are, which is energy.
But it's changing
It is changing. Yes.
now more than ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is good. Okay.
I watched the Crystal Collector on. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, I was just gonna say I watched this.
No, go ahead. You saw
Time
Crystal
out, time
Collector.
out.
Crystal
All right,
Collector.
Crystal Collector,
Yeah.
go. I'll be the breath. It's fine.
When he'll pull all these beautiful amethysts, he'll say, "This thing's been in the ground 350 million years, and just look at the energy bouncing around in it." And he pulled one out the other day that had water floating in it, and just that boggles my mind that we're pulling these older than ancient crystals out, and how powerful they are, So
Well, and the
I
knowledge,
slipped off into the crystal minute.
the consciousness in the crystals. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yes.
Maybe that's why I love them so much. I'm like, you're these ancient little
Yeah. Well, you connect with them. I feel like.
energetic beings.
Do you ever
almost.
meditate with them? Like hold them certain ones while you're meditating?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's what I feel like you're.
Oh yeah. And my
opening
kids
up
are
to
drawn
some-
to certain ones because
Same.
now that we've gotten unpacked, I have them on my shelves and
It's fun.
kind of, and so they'll go in and they'll hold them. They're always really gentle with them.
That's good.
But they'll be like, oh, what's this? And I'll tell them what it is and they'll hold it. And my 3-year-old, he has this one that he loves. It's a sphere. It's a dendrite opal or something. It
Oh.
looks like earth. So it has
That's
like
cool.
some blue.
Wow.
So he always points to it because it's up a little higher because I don't want him to throw it like a ball. So, but he's like, that one, I want that one, and he'll hold it. And so
That's
it's really
cute.
cool that even my kids are drawn to certain.
I was drawn to
things.
crystals as kids.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, for sure. That was like something I was really into.
Yeah,
I thought it's always because they look cool, I guess.
they do.
I
look
think there's
cool.
more to it.
They're
than
like
that.
they're gems and jewels and
Yeah.
something ancient and mysterious about them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, Jennifer asks Ashton, what did you think of the energy healer on Goop Lab? So there's a Goop Lab show on Netflix.
Yes, that's what she's
Oh,
referring.
yeah.
You guys haven't
Yeah.
seen-
I know.
There's
I
also.
didn't hear that.
I said if you guys haven't seen the Goop Lab
Mm.
on Netflix, check it out. There's also they have a podcast that I follow. The Goop podcast is pretty good. What did I think? So I've actually already learned about that energy technique because Donnie Epstein, yeah, he's the one that founded that. And I've actually had sessions of those done,
Really.
and they're pretty trippy, and your body does react, and it's
So what is it? Is it special?
So
type
it's-
of-
it's
'cause I haven't seen it.
so it's a heal. It's an energy healing.
Okay.
It's very similar to
Was it
Reiki.
Rolfing?
Was it what?
Rolfing? Rolfing? Rolfing?
I don't remember what it's. I don't think that's it. But it just
Okay.
very similar to Reiki. But then he also works outside the energetic field and like certain points in the body, and
Okay.
it's crazy because it makes the body. Even if he's working off the body responds. Like that with Reiki, right? when you're working on somebody, sometimes the body will respond in the area. It's very similar to that. And it's what he's doing is he's releasing, just like in Reiki, he's releasing the energy stored in the body, because when we go through trauma or anything like that, all of those emotions, which is just energy in motion, sometimes they can get stuck in the nervous system or certain tissues. So this technique, just like Reiki, is helping to release those things. So I thought it was cool, to answer your question, Lucky. Like I said, I've had sessions like that done personally, and it's a real thing. It's pretty awesome. So if you can have the experience to do it, you should totally do it.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. So Jennifer says, get me certified. She was talking about being like a death doula, which is, I think, really important. And then Amanda says, I'm obsessed with John Amaro's technique. I wonder if that was
the guy.
Is that with death, maybe?
No, because we're going backwards.
I know, we're kind of going back. And then Jennifer wants to touch on the book of Mary Magdalene, which would be great. Where do you find that? Like, I need to read the book of Enoch also. Like these missing books of the Bible.
Yeah, I've heard.
Like, I need to read those.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a good topic. Yeah, for Awaken. We'll put it on our tab for future episodes.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Need to do that. And then Jennifer says the electric part of the body is 100% underrated at this time.
100%.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Amanda said, I would love to experience and learn his technique. And she says it's like Reiki meets craniosacral movement.
Yes, that's exactly how I would describe
I wonder if
that.
anyone in that. So.
Yes, actually. So the people that I had sessions with, they are at, funny enough, their center is called Awaken something. Awakening.
Really? For craniosacral?
No, they do that specific healing technique that I was talking about.
That one.
Goop. Yes. Okay. They call it like spinal something. I'll have to look it up, and I can go back later and put the comments. But yes, there is someone here in Oklahoma who does that, in Edmond, unless they've moved since then. But it's a husband and wife. It's technically like a chiropractic office is how they are their business, but they do other modalities, and that was one of them. That's what they do. Yeah,
you need to.
And the reason they got into it is so the husband and wife met at school together. Well, the wife had all these problems, went to one of those Donnie Epstein types events, had the healing done, and like huge shifts in healing took place. And she's like, I have to learn this. So wow, that's cool. I'll have to put in the comments what it is, because I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, you need to do that, because I'm curious.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And yeah, it says, please, I'm very interested.
All right.
Okay, Amanda, we'll get that for you.
All right. Well, we're getting back up to the time where we usually in these, but does anybody have any other comments or questions specifically for Lorraine, maybe about something she's talked about or something they want to know?
Or Lorraine, like if you have any final thoughts or
messages that you want to share.
Yeah.
Well, when we talked about doing this, I think the one thing that came to mind, because I needed friends so badly the other day, Mercury retrograde was up my ass.
Everybody.
And I spent the day bawling. I mean, I'd look at the TV and a sad commercial would come on and I'd be crying. And so when you guys said we're going to do this, it's like it lifted my spirits and it took me out of those doldrums. And I look at this and I have 967 friends on Facebook. And I've gone through, because when I'm dealing with these other businesses that I'm working with, they're training us to go through and add people to your list and detract. And it's like, I go through and it's like, I don't want to lose him or her. And so I don't, there are a few maybe I could get rid of, but none quite like you two, because there's nobody else that I can talk to about these kinds of things so openly. And I just love that your community is growing larger, and maybe you'll have other guests on too as well. And maybe they'll let me go live from the spaceship next time. That would be awesome.
Definitely hook us up. We'll get you live.
Just drive
recording.
By our places. We'll come with you.
That is like, can we go?
Casey.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I mean, that's literally why we created this space, for that exact reason that you just said. Like,
literally,
this was a brainchild from Morgan and I. Yeah, just sitting and talking on a couch,
chilling one day.
Yeah, just having our in-depth talks.
Right.
Like, we need more people to have these conversations. More people need to be connected, because I mean, we were talking about our experiences. Like when I first started awakening and going through my things, like I was alone. I didn't have anybody else to talk to. And I
Me
think
too.
that was a lot for Morgan too.
Yeah,
so
it's very dark and kind of weird and scary.
yeah, so we
Yeah.
wanted to just be able, as light workers and way showers, to be able to hold that space to have people gather. And it's so cool to see people like you, and we have people, we
Yeah.
have followers like literally all over the place. And it's
Yeah.
cool to see the grid
Yeah.
connect and like
Yeah.
to know that you know you're thousands of miles away, but you're really not because you're right here. Energetically, we know that.
Yeah.
So you're never really alone.
And I can hear your energies, you know, I feel your energies and I look forward. I actually got a little depressed when you went every other week, but I can handle it. I can figure out what to do with my in-between week. I'll make it okay.
It's also
You know, it's just
a community group for that reason. So the
what's
Awaken,
that?
that's why we created the Awaken Vlogcast community group. So the other viewers, if you guys
Yeah.
are, you know, you can go add yourself to that so that when we're not going live or whenever, you guys can work and talk with each other so that you're not always alone.
Sure.
Plus,
Right.
talking about these things in that group. So,
Oh yeah, we love all the stuff, all the topics,
Yeah.
all the topics.
I think you guys have given license to people to be able to talk about some of these things, you know, especially nowadays in Illinois, they're trying to pass a mandatory vaccine law, which includes the Gardasil and the HPV vaccine, even for homeschooled kids. And it's like, fuck you. I'm glad my children are 30 and 28 because I would be in jail. I really would.
and that's how I think
I
by holding this space and speaking up about things like that and anything else, like that's how we make change. It's not electing one person to change it. Like we
Yeah.
are the change we want to see. So if we want changes, we have to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. We have to be the ones standing up for the activists. Like I've been an activist for a lot of different things in my life, and I do relate to like hippies and things like that because that's how changes happened even then, you know. And I think the civil rights movement was one of my favorite things to learn about, honestly, in history growing up. And I was like, that just motivated me. Like I want to be that person. Who am I not to be that person? These were everyday people who believed in something enough to stand up for it and to talk about it. And some people got killed because of it, but you know, it made the changes that needed to happen. And I would be like,
well, it's like I just saw tonight that the key witness for Harvey Weinstein was hit by a car and is now hospitalized. So that was like,
And
why would post trial? Huh?
They're just getting too obvious with that stuff now. Like people are starting to see, like, oh, these people connected to this are just dying. Like something's up.
Oh, what is it? 157 doctors have been murdered because they bring out the truth.
So many dead.
Yeah.
But I think that the more that keeps happening, the more we're talking about these things, we are just like, you know, let's use the Me Too movement as an example. When people start talking about that, it wasn't something new that just started. And like, no, people finally started coming forward, talking about it, and
Getting
like
brave.
look at the things that have happened because of that in such a short amount of time.
Oh my God.
So we just need
the whole fabric has changed.
and it's because people vibrationally and consciously are awake and aware enough now to be able to recognize that. Like she said, like they can see right through the bullshit. The veils have been lifted.
We're breaking cycles. These cycles have been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And another thing in this synchronicity book by David Wilcock, he was going through all these historical events, and there's certain cycles within the 25,000 year cycle, and they line up with certain things. But just now, and you know, the past 10 or 15 years, these cycles, they're starting to be broken. Like there's not a connection anymore. So we are making a difference. We are, whatever we're doing, which I guess is this, just talking about things.
We're awakening.
We're breaking these cycles. So we're saying, no, we're not going to have this terrible thing every 300 and whatever years.
It stops with us.
It stops with us because we're finding our voice and we're finding ourselves and we're making a change, and we're
stepping into
bringing down the shadow government and the shadow elite or whatever you want to call them, because we're bringing awareness to them. They can't hide anymore because we're not letting them. And that's because of our power in numbers.
Yes.
So
we're stronger together than we are individually.
Yep.
It's really powerful.
So, friends forever, pinky swear.
Pinky swear.
Here we go.
That's great. All right, so we're all caught up.
I think we are all caught up. They're just saying great having you. Jennifer says, I think retrograde's been in my rectum this whole cycle. Yeah, great having you. It says if one of you do, let's see, if y'all do one on lost books of the Bible, check into Gnostic Christianity and the lost books. That's a great suggestion. She loves these podcasts. Oh, all the mandatory vaccines is like, nope. Basically, fuck that shit.
It's not happening.
Amanda says, thank you, ladies. They're being suicided. Yes. Suicided. And then
Right.
And then Jennifer says cord cutting the cycles.
Yes.
So yes, that.
So before we go and sign off, that's one thing I'll say to that, what Jennifer said. I literally feel as a light worker and as my purpose on this planet is helping people heal. That's what I've been doing. I've literally been
cutting cords,
cutting cords, swiping slates, like, because I've seen it in all of the people that, like, I can literally tell you everyone I've worked with, I've seen it. I've seen the shifts happen after sessions with me, after doing certain things. And like, I really feel like it's like I'm here to clean people.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest way.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. That shit off of
like,
there.
I don't want to say clean because they're not dirty, but like, that's what it feels like. I feel like
energetic cleansing.
Yes. Like I'm reprogramming them. Like I'm cleaning them. I don't know what else to use. I'm defragging them. I don't know which term you want to use, but that's what I feel like I'm helping them remember who they actually are. And it's really cool to see that. And the more that keeps happening, they have an impact on other people, and it just is the ripple effect as always.
Yep.
Which we talked about.
As always.
So that's all I had to say about it. I just
that's good. No, that's good. That's good.
All right. Well, do you have any final message you want to share before we log off?
Just be kind and go forth, and let's keep sharing the good news. That's I appreciate you guys so much.
We appreciate you.
And
we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
To talk about the things that are sometimes scary to talk about or whatever. We are very grateful that you trust us in this space to be able to do that, because all of these people watching, anybody who's ever going to watch this is going to be impacted because of that. So thank you.
Right. Well, it's not always been easy, and not a lot of people know about what happened, but that's okay. The more I talk about it, the faster I heal from it.
Well, people know about it now, so good job. In your truth.
Right.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us and and listening to Lorraine's story tonight. We appreciate it, and we will look forward to seeing you not next week, but the week after on the next episode of AWAKEN Vlogcast. And thank you guys for supporting us and just being here and holding the space for everybody.
Namaste.
Stay. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.